Hey guys, I received a few questions from a subscriber, and with them I thought I'd make a new Q&A series similar to the ones other reviewers have. Before we get started, I want to lay down some ground rules for this series. The first being that the questions must be game related, and the second one is I'm asking you to please limit the number of questions that you ask. There's only so many questions that I can handle, and so with that said, I ask you to exercise some restraint when asking these questions. So with that said, let's get started. We have 3 questions from RE4Lover, and his first question is, what are your favorite games of all time? You know, I've played many great games throughout the years. I have a lot of favorites, and so what I've done is I've broken this down by system. The first system I'm going to talk about is the first system that I ever owned, which is the Atari 5200, and my favorite game for that system is Dig Dug. For the Nintendo Entertainment System, my favorite games are Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3, Castlevania 1, Simon's Quest, Double Dragon 2, The Legend of Zelda, Contra, Punch-Out, and Metroid. For the Sega Genesis, my favorite games are Flashback, Strider, and Streets of Rage. Now for arcade games, my favorite games on that were Street Fighter 2 and Double Dragon. For the Super Nintendo, it was Final Fight, Super Mario World, Mario Kart, Doom, Mega Man X, Final Fantasy VI, and Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. For the PlayStation, my personal favorites are Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, Resident Evil 1, Metal Gear Solid, Chrono Cross, and Legend of Legaia. For the N64, my personal favorites are the Ocarina of Time, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, Mario Kart 64, and Doom 64. My favorite games for the PlayStation 2 are Oni, Final Fantasy X, Metal Gear Solid 3, Code Veronica, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and Onimusha 1. For the GameCube, it's Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 1 the Remake, and Resident Evil 4. As you can tell by now, I'm quite a Resident Evil fan. For the PC, I was never really into PC games. There was one series, however, that I was into, and that's Command & Conquer, specifically CNC 95 all the way to Yuri's Revenge, when Westwood was making the series. I felt that CNC died after they sold out to Electronic Arts, who effectively destroyed that series. So I don't play any of the newer Command & Conquer games because it's EA and EA sucks. Our next question is, what games do you find overrated? Well, definitely Halo. And I also find the Final Fantasy series, particularly 7, 8, 9, and X2. Especially 7. Now, I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy 7, but I'll have to admit, it's probably one of the most overrated games I've ever seen. Another series that I think is overrated is Grand Theft Auto. Now, a point that I want to make is that overrated games tend to have one thing in common, and it's simply this. They have a lot of fanboys. So with that said, if a game has a lot of fanboys, it's probably overrated. Our third and final question is, what are your favorite video game soundtracks? Oh, I love this question. I love great video game music. I like game music better than regular music. And my personal favorite soundtracks are the Final Fantasy series, particularly Final Fantasy VI, 7, 8, X, and X2. Metal Gear Solid is another one. I especially love that catchy alert music when you're being chased down, and also the Gray Fox is Dead theme when you're fighting Metal Gear Rex, the second part. Also, Metal Gear Solid 3, Mega Man X, that's a no-brainer. Street Fighter, Killer Instinct Gold, Mortal Kombat 3, Halo 3, Perfect Dark, Onimusha, Chrono Cross, Legend of Legaia, and Terminator for the Sega CD. Now, if you saw the Angry Video Game Nerd Sega CD review, he mentioned that the Terminator had awesome music, and I can vouch for him. The soundtrack for the Terminator is excellent. You need to go check it out. And with that, I'll close out this episode of Q&A with The End. I look forward to answering more of your questions. Just keep the ground rules in mind, and I'll see you later. Peace out.